This is Dr. Daniel Gillenwater here at Eastern Oaks Baptist Church in Montgomery, Alabama, and I'm bringing you your PSA, or Practical Sermon Application, for the week of September 30th, 2012. If you've been worshiping with us lately, or if you've been viewing these PSAs, you know that we are looking at the book of Daniel as we are doing a series titled Politically Incorrect. And of course, the goal of this series has been to encourage us and to help us understand how to live godly lives in an ungodly world. This past week, we looked at Daniel chapter 4 and the account of King Nebuchadnezzar basically losing his mind, going crazy. He has a dream, and in this dream he is warned that his arrogance has offended God and that he is going to be cast out of his kingdom. He's going to basically go crazy. He's going to wander around as a wild animal for 7 years. He has this dream. Daniel interprets this dream for him. Daniel even warns him. He tells him, "King, turn from your sin. Turn to righteousness, and maybe this won't happen." But as we've learned from the book of Daniel, King Nebuchadnezzar was very arrogant. And he arrogantly ignored the warning from God, and he faced the punishment that God warned him of. One of the things we said Sunday was that we can be humble or we can be humbled. I'm going to say that again. We can be humble or we can be humbled. You know, humility is an interesting virtue because it's one of those things that we want everyone else to have, but we don't really want to have ourselves. We talk about humility, we talk about being humble, and what we mean by that is we want other people to be humble. But we don't want to be humble. Well, that was the problem with Nebuchadnezzar. He didn't want to be humble, and he faced the consequences. Sunday I made the comment that as the people of God, as we claim to be followers of Jesus Christ, if we continue to live our lives as if everything belongs to us, as if our time, our talent, our treasure, as if everything belongs to us, if we refuse to humble ourselves before God, then we place ourselves in a very dangerous position. See, the Scripture tells us both in James and in 1 Peter that God opposes the proud, but gives grace to the humble. God opposes the proud, but gives grace to the humble. I don't want to be opposed by God. Scripture tells me that God is an almighty, all-powerful, all-knowing God. I don't want to be on His bad side. I don't want to be opposed by God. I want to experience the grace of God. And how do I experience the grace of God? I humble myself before God. That means I recognize that everything I am and everything I have belongs to God. And I use everything I am and everything I have to bring glory and honor to God. As we said this past Sunday, Nebuchadnezzar had everything this world had to offer. But he lacked the one thing he needed, which was humility before God. And because he lacked humility before God, because he refused to be humble, he was humbled by God. I don't want to be humbled by God. I want to voluntarily humble myself before God so that I can experience the grace of God. This week, I encourage you to evaluate your life. Evaluate how you use your time, how you use your talent, how you use your treasure. Are you humbly taking a knee before God and offering everything to Him? Or are you arrogantly using your time, your talent, and your treasure as if it belonged to you? Scripture tells us that nothing belongs to us. Everything belongs to God. We are only stewards of what God has given us. And so if we want to truly humble ourselves before God, and not just pay lip service to God, but truly humble ourselves before God, then that humility must take the form of action. We must humble our finances before God. We must humble our time before God. We must humble our talent before God and use everything for His glory. Again, I encourage you, evaluate your life. Are you humbling yourself before God? Because as Nebuchadnezzar found out, we can be humble or we can be humbled. I don't want to be humbled by an all-powerful God. I want to experience the grace of God. And the Scripture tells us that God opposes the proud, but gives grace to the humble. Humble yourself before the Lord this week. I'll be praying for you. I'll talk to you again next week.